Welcome to the IHM User Interface Review. This video is intended to provide IHM users with a brief introduction to the IHM User Interface. The IHM User Interface is launched by opening the IHM executable file located in the bin folder of the project directory. The user interface opens to the main window, the Scenarios tab. Blanks will be displayed for all fields because the database has not yet been loaded. Using the File Open pull-down menu, navigate to and select an IHM database located in the project directory. There are 6 view options on the left side of the IHM user interface. The component model view shows generalized input data for the HSPF and ModFlow component models. Inputs in this view apply to all simulation scenarios stored in the input database. The Scenarios view allows the user to create and configure simulation scenarios. The user launches a simulation from the Start Simulation button in the Scenarios window. The Production Wells view allows the user to manage production well data by viewing existing wells and adding new wells. The Production Well Adjustment Set view allows the user to create and configure scenario adjustments for production well pumping rates. Similarly, the Diversion Adjustment Sets view allows the user to create and configure scenario adjustments for diversion rates. And finally, the Post-Processing view allows the user to create and configure post-processing sequences using IHM post-processing plugins. Before we take a closer look at the Scenarios view, here are some user interface tips. Tip number 1. Although data input for component model setups and configuration of simulation scenarios and post-processing sequences can be completed by direct entry into the IHM database, using the user interface is recommended because experience has shown that there are far fewer errors made when using the user interface to complete these tasks. Therefore, use the user interface instead of direct database input whenever possible. Tip number 2. Although it's best to make changes through the user interface, configuration of scenario adjustments for production well pumping rates or diversion rates, and management of production well data through the user interface are well suited for models with a small number of changes to wells or diversions. Spreadsheets, custom queries directly in Microsoft Access, or a combination of these tools may be more efficient when there are changes to a large number of wells or diversions. Tip number 3. Before opening an IHM database in the user interface, make sure the database is not open in Microsoft Access. If data are input to the database using another method while the IHM user interface is also attached to the same database, conflicts or database corruption may occur. Now let's take a closer look at the Scenarios window. The top of the Scenarios window contains common function buttons on the right side and a list of simulation scenarios that have been previously defined and saved in the database on top. If the list of names is blank, no scenarios have been defined. The common function buttons facilitate management of IHM scenarios, including adding, copying, deleting, saving, and restoring scenarios. Any changes made to an IHM scenario must be saved if the scenario is to be available for later use. If changes to a scenario are not saved and a different scenario is highlighted or an attempt is made to leave the Scenarios window, a confirmation window will appear. The bottom of the Scenarios window contains 4 tabs. Each tab contains information about one of the 4 control input groups for a simulation scenario, including simulation control, HSPF control, ModFlow control, and output control. Information in each tab is assigned to the scenario, which is highlighted in the top portion of the Scenarios window. When a different scenario is selected in the top part of the Scenarios window, the information on the 4 tabs will be changed based on the configuration of the selected scenario. The Simulation Control tab is used to input and manage several high-level controls for the simulation, including start date, end date, scenario name and description, and integration time step. The simulation is launched by pressing the Start Simulation button on the Simulation Control tab. The HSPF Control tab is used to specify a diversion adjustment set. If no diversion adjustments are needed for a scenario, this field is left blank. The ModFlow Control tab is used to manage controls which direct IHM to generate and archive ModFlow packages during a simulation and to select a production well adjustment set if needed. A production well adjustment set modifies the production well rates that are specified in the input database. The Export Time Series button is a utility used to export production well time series data directly from the production well time series table in the database and which reflect the rate adjustments specified in the production well adjustment set field. ModFlow archiving options are also available on this tab. Finally, the Output Control tab is used to control the archiving of IHM CSV and binary files and to specify a post-processing sequence. If the user does not wish to run post-processing at the time of model execution, highlight this field and press the Delete key. Post-processing can also be executed directly from the post-processing window. Exit the user interface by clicking the X in the upper right corner or by using the File Exit pull-down. Thanks for watching this brief introduction to the IHM User Interface. More videos are available on the IHM website at www.integratedhydrologicmodel.org.